between the two nations.
The House then considered questions for oral answer numbers 71 to 77, understanding order 74.
Thereafter, there was a resumption of debate on a motion of supply, a motion that was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, a motion of 29 September 2023, that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And at the time, business was interrupted yesterday. On the floor of the House was a FERA Member of Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, who was debating to this motion of supply. And so Madam First Deputy Speaker adjourned the House at 18:41 hours. And so that is business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday, Thursday, 5th October 2023. Just now we shift our attention and we look at today's order paper.
Exactly, Matimba. We look at today's order paper, and today, Friday, 6th October 2023, we do expect Her Honor the Vice President's question time. This is a segment which is allocated 45 minutes, and the various members of Parliament pose questions to Her Honor the Vice President without notice. And we also expect the House to consider 4 questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74, and of course we do expect resumption of debate on the motion of 29th September 2023. Matimba, we can get into the details.
The first question for oral answer will come from Milanzi Member of Parliament, Ms. Melesiana Piri, and he's posing his question to the Minister of Education. She wants to find out a question in 4 parts: whether the government has any plans to construct houses for teachers in Milanzi parliamentary constituency, and in the B part of the question, the Member of Parliament wants to find out, if so, how many houses will be constructed in 2023. In the C part of the question, she wants to find out when the project will commence, and indeed she wants to find out what the estimated cost of the project is.
Question 79 is expected to come from Ms. Marjorie Nakaponda, who is a Soka Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development in Part A whether the government issued mining licenses to any companies at Mkombwa Hill Mine in Isoka Parliamentary Constituency. If so, what the names of the companies that were issued with mining licenses are, and in Part C, if not, what measures are being taken to prevent illegal mining activities in the area.
Question 80 is expected to come from Chairman North Member of Parliament, Mr. Yota Mutayachalo, and he's posing his question to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. He wants to find out a question in 3 parts: whether the government is aware that some police officers have been sexually abusing detainees in police custody, and in the B part of the question, he wants to find out, if so, what measures the government is taking to curb the vice and reassure the public. And in the C part of the question, the Member of Parliament wants to find out whether a commission of inquiry will be set up to establish the depth of the problem.
And question 81 is expected to come from Mr. Leivan Chivombwe, who is Bahati Member of Parliament, and is expected to ask the Minister of Infrastructure and Urban Development a question in 3 parts. There you have it in picture, Madam First Deputy Speaker's procession making its way, and just now we take you to the floor of the House.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. Bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessings descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. We don't have matters of urgent public importance. We can now go to our honor the Vice President's question time. Order, honorable members. We have an agenda before us, Honorable Member for Kabwe. Her Honor, the Vice President is not supposed to give us the business for next week. It was already done. It will be done fortnightly. The Leader of Opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to ask Her Honor the Vice President a question. Your Honor the Vice President, soon after the 2016 elections, there was tension in the country. Stakeholders and political parties alike decided to go to Siavonga and have a meeting to see how they could resolve these challenges amidst calls for national dialogue. The Siavonga meeting resolved that, as opposed to using foreigners to resolve our local problems, we resolved that we engage the church to try and help us resolve these challenges. A few days ago, we saw former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo come in the country to try and mediate between President Hakainde Hichilema and the former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. The question that I have for you, Your Honor the Vice President, going by the Siavonga resolution, where as Zambians we resolved to be able to handle our challenges locally and not to use foreigners. What is the position of your government as regards the Siavonga resolution? Have we lost faith in the church? I thank you, Your Honor.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honorable Leader of Opposition. Really, the Siavonga resolution, the Honorable Member and the Honorable Members will realize that the Siavonga resolution never worked. It was almost a BID. Nothing was resolved through the Siavonga political party resolution. And it was not a binding resolution that this nation will forever work on the premise of what was resolved in Siavonga. The Siavonga resolution was misinterpreted, misunderstood. It never worked. And to start being an island as a nation is a very dangerous path to take. We are part of the global world. That is why you have seen, even where there are serious problems, the international community can be involved and will always be involved. And therefore, the internal issues of our country cannot always be bound to Siavonga resolution, which failed to work, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask Her Honor the Vice President. Her Honor the Vice President, good morning from the good people of Petauke. Don't move now.
Honorable Member, I think we have a lot of members who would want to ask questions. Let's not waste time. Please go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's these people who think that I'll be moved. Her Honor the Vice President, the good people of Petauke in Nyika Ward, which is the only urban in Petauke Central constituency. The township roads, they are crying because that project for township roads has stalled for so many years. Now it has come to be a death trap to the good people of Petauke, especially in that urban area, because the roads, one, they have got hips along the roads where people with motorcycle, with vehicles, they usually cause accidents because of those. And I remember vividly.
Don't debate your question, Honorable Member. What is your question?
Yes. The question to our Honor the Vice President is, you promised this House and the Zambia at large that all those projects which were stalled, you are going to complete them. So when are you going to complete that township roads in Petauke Central Constituency in Nyika Ward? I thank you, Her Honor the Vice President. The good people of Petauke, they are waiting to hear your answer. Thank you.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honorable Member for Petauke, and thank you and good morning to the good people of Petauke. And I know there are those who have a covenant with the Honorable Member who watch when he's asking questions. So when the Honorable is asking questions, he's even saying, you watch me, I'll ask. I think that is a very good motivation. The roads, the promise of this government still stands. We said we will work on every project that is good for the people of Zambia. That was started in the past. That is why you have seen we are not only working on projects that were started by the immediate past regime, PF, we are working on that. We are also working on those that were left under the MMD. Except we have to start somewhere. That is why now, honorable members, madam, are comparing 2 years to 10 years. And as long as we are looking at things like that, then we will not be objective, we will not be rational in the manner we see the work of this government. Madam, we are working on those. But the best thing to do I think those roads fall under local government. It is important, Honorable, that you follow and see exactly where they are. I cannot have those specific projects right now to say, oh, in this constituency, this is what is happening. We will do that. It's a commitment to the Zambian people. We will follow through the projects. But the resource envelope or the funds availability determines where to go. And then you prioritize. But go to the Ministry of Local Government and see exactly the program of work for them under these roads. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Your Honor, the Vice President, the workers and the people of Zambia are crying in light of the escalating cost of living and doing business in the country because of unprecedented increase in the cost of fuel and electricity. Your Honor, the Vice President, has your government got any plans to tax the mining investors more so that you give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar in order to mitigate the high cost of living? I thank you.
Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Chama North for that very important question on the cost of living. Indeed, this government is working, doing everything possible to ensure that there is an improvement. This is what we committed to in the livelihoods of our people. And the cost of living is a concern for everybody. But this House, Madam, being a House of leaders, should help to interpret the issues, to interpret the economic status of the country and the economic status of the entire globe, so that we don't just live like, again, I'll use the word which I've used before, like an island, like we are able to do all things. The cost of fuel you have spoken about, yes, that is true, very high. But we have said it here many times over, that there are things that are beyond our control. If we produced the fuel, Madam Speaker, we would determine the cost of fuel. But we don't. And therefore, it is determined by other people. And yet we need it. We can't do away with it. We have done a lot of mitigating measures to try and bring down the cost of fuel. If, sorry. Yeah, sorry, but it's good. You know that I learn things from colleagues. I am okay on my own. Thank you, Madam. Sorry for having a chat with these colleagues who wanted to disrupt my thought pattern. Yeah, what I'm saying is, if we produced the fuel, for example, we would be in charge. We would be able to determine. But this government is trying to put measures in place that would mitigate the cost of fuel, which we know impacts the rest of the production of a lot of things, if not almost all things that we produce through industry. We are aware. That is why we have repeated many times, Madam Speaker, that we have worked on Tazama, and we are hoping that in not too far from now, a near future, we should be able to have a reduction. No matter how small, that will be a reduction. That's why we have talked of fuel blending, having the ethanol blending to create petrol. We are working on all those things. There are challenges along the way, I am aware, but we are working on that. And when that happens, then definitely we should start seeing a stability in the cost of living, stability in the cost of living, because we are impacted by the entire world. The question you asked, Honorable, is on the mining. Are we going to tax? I think the Minister of Finance is here. Do we leave them without taxing them? I thought they pay tax. They pay tax. They have to pay tax. We know company tax, we know royalty. They pay all that. That's why we need to increase this. That's why we need to bring in more investment so that we can have more tax. Unless I didn't understand, but if I did, mining industry pays tax to government, both royalty and company, and through the employees that work for them, they also pay tax to the government, which tax is used to redistribute. I think I would want to say this, Honorable Minister of Finance. When we collect tax, when we collect levies, this is what we redistribute to do things we do. So this House should help us if they have any other way to raise money. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wanted to just find out from our Honour the Vice President the development that people are looking for. That which is centered in town and the one which is distributed all over this country, which covers the rurals, which never used to take place. Which development should we consider as the one which will help alleviate the sufferings of the people in Zambia, especially those in the rural area? Is it the one centered in town or the one which is distributed to the rural areas? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I honor the Vice President.
I don't want to join the presiding officer. I think the purpose of our talking is to understand and hear each other. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I think I'm just being reminded that Madam Speaker has won an award under the Commonwealth, so let us congratulate her. Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. You may
Especially
continue.
the honorable member from Porogosto. Which development? I think that's the question. Is it the development which is town-centered or indeed rural-centered? I will start by saying they are both needed. Number one, you need development in town. But town is not Zambia. Town is just part of Zambia. We need also to develop the rural areas where majority of our people are found. And this is why, Honorable Member for Kalabo, you have seen that Zambians are happy with your government, the government of the UPND, because of the CDF. CDF brings equity. Madam Speaker, resource distribution is a very important issue in governance. When there is no equitable distribution of resources, this is what you see bringing confusion in many countries. And this government is aware of that. That is why equity in the distribution is important. You have seen, Honorable Member, that CDF is also in town. Mandevu has CDF. Nkana has also CDF. But Shiwangandu has also CDF. You cannot leave the villages of Shiwangandu because they are rural. They also need development. And this is what we need. We must develop the country equitably so that we don't leave anyone behind. I hope I've responded. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Wacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And Madam Vice President, information imaging, you know I don't lie. Information imaging, Madam Vice President, is that nearly all UPND-led constituencies in this country have received in full the 2023 CDF. Meanwhile, Madam Vice President, the constituencies led by opposition, members of parliament, and independents have only received not more than 8 million kwacha. 6.9, Madam Vice President. My question is, Madam Vice President, why are opposition and independent-led constituencies being discriminated by your government, especially when it comes to CDF? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member, I hope you have evidence. I honor the Vice President.
Thank you.
Order, Honorable Members, order.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honorable Member for this very, very important question. And I am glad that the Honorable Member premised his question with, I don't lie. It is important that we should not lie. I will excuse him to start with because he also said information imaging. I will tell you that don't believe it. If you truly have said with your heart, you know, some of us are working for people and to the glory of the living God, and we will not stand to lie. I will not stand to lie. I can be misled, but I will not lie. So I like that statement. And therefore, I can assure you that that information is totally false. When we have said here that resources will be given according, in fact, to the absorption, you know, I stand here very disappointed, to say the truth, that we are failing to use the resources at the rate that we would want. And as a result, those that have worked well are being hindered by those that have not done well. Standing here, I know of a constituents, I don't want to name you. If you know, come and see me, who have used only 3%. I don't know about Shiwangandu. If you are one of those, you can see me. But I am not talking about... we don't debate each other. I withdraw.
Order, Honorable Members.
But I hope you do understand, colleagues. There is no truth, no iota of truth in saying that this government is doing don't kubeba on members when the government has promised that they will release resources, money under CDF to every constituent. No one constituent has been favored. Those who are not working fast enough have delayed those who are, that is the truth, those who are working fast in their constituents. As far as I stand here, you didn't even see me turn to the minister because I also try to follow what is happening. This is how sad it is that we are failing to absorb the money quickly so that money can be released. The principle, colleagues, the principle is money. Can you listen?
Order, honorable
My
members.
daughter who likes to shout at the mother.
Order.
The Reverend, yes. My daughter, Reverend. The principle is this government would like to release the money at the same time so that we don't have the issues that the Honorable has referred to. So in this matter, go check your constituencies and say, we have used, how many have used? Less than 50% have used 50%. So, of what has been given to you, please use the money quickly. People want development. The money is there and will be released as soon as you do that. So that is my assurance to you. There is no such a thing. The money is there. The money is there. You want me to tell you where the money is? But I can tell you the money is there. You can go to local government where money was languishing and we had to do something. But the money is there. We are committed. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Her Honor, the Vice President, when you were responding to the question by the Honorable MP for Chama North, where I was asking why the government is not taxing the mining companies more, you responded that the mining companies are actually paying taxes. And you further stated that this House needs to help this government on how to raise the money. I agree with you, Madam Vice President, that it's true the mining companies are paying taxes. Now, let me explain it this way. In 20...
Honorable Member, please try to be very brief.
I will. I will.
Be very brief so that we allow as many members as possible.
Madam Speaker, I want to create a basis for asking questions so that the Vice President can understand.
Member, such questions actually, then you have to use another avenue. If you want to describe your question in details,
it will be less than a minute.
Be under a minute or two.
Of course, it will be less than a minute,
please,
Madam Speaker.
Please focus on the question. Go straight to the question.
In 2022, the government of Zambia gave an incentive to the mining companies of 3.2 billion, meaning that the government lost 3.2 billion kwacha in revenues. This year, the government introduced a fiscal policy which gave an additional mining incentive of 2.8 billion, meaning the government lost 2.8 billion. In total this year, the government has lost 6 billion kwacha in terms of mining incentives that have been given.
What is the question?
The question is that this year, we have proposed that next year, the Zambian people are going to be taxed on money-to-money mobile transactions, and the government is going to generate 1 billion kwacha from that tax. So why is it that, Madam Vice President, why is it that the government can't reconsider this position that it should not tax the Zambian people and maybe just revisit one of the decisions that extended the mining incentives to the mining companies so that we provide the relief to the Zambian people? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Chinsali. Some of these issues, it's difficult for me to give answers standing because I need more information. Because standing here, I'm not aware of all these incentives. I am not aware. And remember, I'm not an economist, so I will need to sit with people to explain it to me how we have lost the 6 billion, in incentives, I believe, to the mines. the point that I would like, Honorable Member, to please help your country in terms of resource mobilization. I like this because you are bringing it out that, although I'm saying I'm not aware of such a thing, giving 2.2 billion, it needs an explanation maybe to a simple mind for me to understand. So I will not comment. But I'm glad you have said we are taxing the mine. So if we are taxing and then we are giving the incentive of 2 billion, I will need to understand. But when you want to debate, and I listened to your debate, I'm sorry, just to remind each other on the budget speech, I see your passion about the money-to-money mobile transfer of money, where you are so concerned about this, you know, whether it's tax levy, whatever you call it, that you think this is punishing people. There is no punishment. Even you sitting here, colleagues who sat here, money comes from people. Tax levy, government collects to redistribute. This is how the tax works. You collect little and you give to the need. That is a principle, whether it's in our traditional governance. Under normal, a chief will collect and then give to the needy at the right time. You cannot start making people feel like something so huge is happening. The issue of 8 kwacha, Minister, it is 08 ngwe, not kwacha. 08 ngwe. If you transfer 5 kwacha, 8 ngwe is given. To who? It is only the volumes that make the difference. Don't make people feel like this government is out to punish them. This is money that we want to take to the people. You are talking of roads, you are talking of this. This is the money, but it's 18 way that will be deducted from the smallest amount to 1 kwacha, 80 ngwe if you transfer the maximum. Colleagues, surely, what else can you think of? All the money that goes into the treasury is people's money. There is no way you are going to have no tax. Whoever you tax is a person. The worker is being taxed. Whoever is contributing to the treasury. And this is how you raise money. So for us to make people feel like there's something very abnormal, we want them to be poor. No. We want to make roads for them. We want to continue with free education. We want to continue with social cash transfer. This, I don't want to go into the budget speech debate. So, Honorable, this is not to punish, it's to make money so that Chinsali can have that road where people fail to travel. The rains are coming, we will be crying. Let us collect whatever we can. Tell us to be prudent, we will listen. Tell us to be prudent, because that's what we should be. Use that 18 way should not wrongly go into a wrong pocket. Those are the things you should be telling us about. Thank you, Madam.
Yeah. The Honorable Member for Sikongo.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when the New Dawn administration took over the running of this country, Zambia was in intensive care. But due to the wise and dynamic leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, as we stand, 80% of the campaign promises have been fulfilled. And at the pace at which we are moving, I feel before the end of the 5-year term, all the campaign promises will be fulfilled. Now, the question I have to our Honour the Vice President is, are you going to go out of your way and even implement promises that may not have been given in your quest to develop this country? I thank you.
Her Honour the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honourable Member for Skongo for his question, which he premises with the status, the economic status, I believe, maybe even political status, because the cadres are no longer there. It was one of our campaign promises, colleagues. We should all be happy because cadres are cadres. They'll always be there, but cadreism should not be allowed. So that is one promise that has been fulfilled. And everybody is happy, despite which side of the house they are in. Nobody in their right senses would want a situation like we see in other countries. I don't want to name a country where an African country has gone in. It became like simple cadreism. And then gangs take over. That must not be allowed. And we have reached here. I'm sure we are all happy on that score. That is part of intensive care. Now, fulfilling the promises, Madam, maybe we should come with our manifesto and read to the people. You are right. People voted this government in based on the promises. Let us not forget, Madam Speaker, was it the second week? Members on your left started asking about free education. Some even said, my children have gone into school. Where is free education? I still remember my response because, watcher, I don't lie. So I can remember. I said, but this is your budget. This is September. This is your budget. How can we bring free education? And there was total disbelief. They were so sure, Madam, that we will not give free education. It was a promise. We did. They are still shocked. We gave free education. There is free education. That is another one promise. Oh, we will ensure that we develop the country, the entire country. Oh, we are working. This is why I was concerned with the debate of 2 years and 10 years. Because development is progressive. It's a process. You don't wake up and abracadabra, let there be light, like we saw. Schools just being declared from a primary school, you are now secondary. No teachers, no what? Chaos in the teaching fraternity. Minister, this is what you were doing. I'm a teacher myself. And we called those schools, let there be, like God declaring. How would you declare such? Then you find that there was a school, a primary school, or is it basic becomes secondary? No teachers. So you have a teacher from another school to here, the point is chaos, Minister of Education found. But we are working systematically. You have your time to debate. I am the one on the floor, and I'm enjoying the floor. So maybe it is, again, we can make a list of the things that we have done. I will come with this list to show that so much promise fulfilled. Promise fulfilled. I will do that, Honorable Member.
The Honorable Member for Pambashe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is what is called in Mangonomics economic theories. It must go up in order for it to come down. Madam Speaker, we may not trivialize the cost of living by the Zambian people. And yesterday, the Minister for Green Economy gave the rainfall forecast, and the Minister of Agriculture up to date. I was shocked to hear there's maize, there's the fertilizer input in Nangom. In the northern part of Zambia, where I come from, you may agree with me that it began raining 3-4 weeks ago. There is nothing that has been given to farmers. And farmers...
What is the question?
The question is in relation to the cost of living. That this year and next year, we may suffer the same consequences because farmers have not received the input yet. What are we doing? That's a fact.
Ask the question, honorable member, please. Ask the question.
Let's behave like
Ask
honorable
the
members.
question.
I have heard a very disturbing comment outside, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Please, honorable member on the floor, ask the question so that we make progress.
I was seeking your protection, Madam Speaker, from a very hurting comment from the right. Very hurting, and I don't want to respond to that comment. Please, let's behave as honorable members of parliament.
You may proceed, honorable member.
Zambians today are having challenges and difficulties to meet their basic needs because of the cost of living. And this is driven by three things: food, fuel, and fertilizer. What is the government doing to mitigate the sufferings of the majority Zambians who are unable to meet the cost of living in Zambia today? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Pambashe for that concern, except I started writing fertilizer, and now it is fuel. For fertilizer, surely fertilizer is out there. Government has distributed. If there is a challenge in the distribution from the depots to the farmers, I think it's important to talk about that. But this government has ensured we don't want to keep repeating the same mistakes. We don't want to go through the same era. But if something new develops, let us work together and see how we change that. That is on the front of fertilizer. This year, we really want fertilizer with people. I am aware that D is long gone. I think we have long-term, short-term, mitigating measures. Particularly, I was responding to the same cost of living by the Honorable Member for Chama. So I don't know whether I have to repeat that. Nobody can undermine the effect of the cost of living in our country today. And because of that, government has to continuously work to see how we mitigate. I talked about the fuel you talked about. I think I gave some of the mitigating measures. It's just a little tedious. I talked about that. On meal, the government is working on how do we do it. I don't know when I said this and to who, that colleagues, people are buying this meal at exorbitant price. And if you look at the cost, there are two types of meal. There is the roller, which we call roller, and there is the breakfast. I would like, going back to Wacha, we don't have to lie. We just have to address issues. Yes, very expensive. And very expensive. The difference is big between what we call roller, which I call health meal, and the breakfast. Yeah, I should love it, my honorable, because I eat roller. What we need is to challenge each other here. How many of you are even eating breakfast? In here, we said don't lie, yeah? Watcha. How many here? But why are you pushing people to continuously take food which is not as health? Why? Is roller good? So let us help our people. It is not only good, it is also cheaper. But we become political on a matter which is not political. We should encourage the millers to do good, because I hear some roller mill is bad, is bitter or whatever. What we need to do is to encourage millers to mill proper, good, healthy mill. All of us, we are leaders. My brother, young brother, Chitotela, today you are not my son. Help people, because I don't believe you eat breakfast. All of us here are protecting ourselves. Then we are saying, people, why are you telling them to eat roller? That is hypocritical. We have to work together to address the issue of the cost of living. We are determined. Maybe you have answers. Why don't you come and say, this is the way? Help us. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Shangombo.
Madam Speaker, I would like first of all to congratulate Madam Speaker, Madam Nelly Muti, for the well-deserved award that she won. Madam Speaker, I'd like to find out from the Vice President what voice or advice he had to the people who are ever bringing issues which government has attended to. We have delivered fertilizer, but they are still saying there's no fertilizer. What advice do you have for these people who will never repent from whatever wrong they have done, the plunderers? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank the Honorable Member for Shangombo for that question. I believe that the plunderers have no advice. They should be in courts of law or they should be in prisons. That is the way it should be. It doesn't matter whether the plunder lives there or here. The punishment is by law. It is not by the will of man. One must go through the process to be found guilty and then be punished. You have to create a law for liars. You have to create a law for liars. And I see many people being caught up in that law. It will be motor vehicle law. Let us create one for lying here. But on the second point, the Honorable, you said, those who never see what government is doing, the advice is we are not competing on service to the people, because we are agreed, your left and your right, that we serve the people. So when something good has been done by government, I think it is important, because you are a politician, keep quiet, because you don't want to praise. But don't fight it, don't contradict, don't oppose, because you are opposition. The Honorable Member for Lupososhi, how are you, sir? I know why I'm greeting him. Opposition is not just for opposition. Keep quiet because you don't want to praise. But when it is true, you keep quiet if you don't want to praise. But if possible, praise so that people can see something good is happening. Because you want a very stable country where people see. I am sure that's what you want. Because even if you want to come in after 50 years, you want to come and find a very stable government, because we are here for 50 years. Huh? Thank you.
Thank you. We make progress. Questions for oral answer, understanding order number 74. The Honorable Member for Milanzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The good people of Milanzi are asking question 78.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Milaz is asking the Minister of Education whether the government has any plans to construct houses for teachers in Milan's constituents. B, if so, how many houses will be constructed in 2023? C, when the project will commence? And D, what the estimated cost for the project is. Madam Speaker, I would like to inform this House that yes, government has plans to construct houses for teachers in Milanzi parliamentary constituents. B, 21 three-bedroom houses will be constructed from 2023 through 2025 medium-term budget plan. You may note that 9 houses, Madam Speaker, has been constructed under CDF, while 12 will be constructed under Zambia Education Enhancement Project. The project commenced in April 2023, and so far 4 houses they are under construction at Umudizi Day Secondary School and the Chivondo Primary Schools. And the estimated cost for the project is 16,642,835 kwacha. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before I take supplementary questions, there's an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Pambashe, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on Wednesday this week, I rose on the matter of urgent public importance, and you directed for a question for urgent matter. And I processed the question, and I received the communications from the clerk that today the question was supposed to be on the order paper. My point of order is this House in order to mislead me by giving me a copy of the letter that is the question I processed will be on the order paper? When I woke up, it is not there. I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker.
Pardon? Is that the minister? Thank you, Honorable Member. However, that point of order is not supposed to arise because that is an administrative matter. So please, you can consult the clerk, the office of the clerk for an explanation. It is an administrative matter. Can we now go to supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Milanzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, considering that most teachers are still not accommodated by the Ministry of Education in the various schools, are you considering giving these teachers any incentives since they are living in grass-thatched houses and in villages? Any incentives?
The Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. She's asking for incentives for teachers. The government has actually given and allocated more money into constituencies, and we are encouraging our members of parliament to use CDF. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Can we please minimize the points of order? We want the questions to flow so that the people can follow. There's an indication for a point of order. What is your point of order, Honorable Member for Luena?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I sincerely apologize for disturbing the flow of the question and answer session. Madam Speaker, I'm aware that points of order are supposed to be raised contemporaneously. And during the Vice President's question time, again, according to the rules, one couldn't raise a point of order. And therefore, I'm hoping this is contemporaneous enough. Madam Speaker, one of the honorable members, and in particular honorable member for Wacha constituents, in posing a question to the Vice President during the Vice President's question time, made a statement, very, very serious, misleading, incorrect, inflammatory, and pejorative statement, suggesting that this government is discriminately disbursing CDF to members of the UPND.
Order, Honorable Member. I think the rules are very clear. We even passed that segment where we are not supposed to raise points of order. What you can do, Honorable Member, can you please write a written complaint to the office of the Speaker? Thank you. We make progress. The Honorable Member for Milanzi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, you responded that CDF is there to give incentives to teachers. I totally disagree. Most of our teachers in Milanzi constituency, Honorable Minister, if you are not aware, they are not receiving rural hardship allowance. This is a question that I brought before this House, and there was no answer given to this question. CDF, Madam Speaker, would you please keep quiet?
The Honorable Member for Milanzi, you are addressing that question through me to the Minister. Never mind about the other people on the floor. Honorable members, can we give us space to raise the supplementary question? The Honorable Member for Milanzi, you may proceed.
Honorable Minister, considering that you are saying there are no incentives for teachers who are accommodated in villages, how then do you achieve quality education if the very teachers that are supposed to provide this service are demotivated? I submit.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, first and foremost, we're talking about houses for teachers. And I said we need to use CDF to build houses for teachers. That's what I said. I want it to be very clear. I'm not saying you should get incentives from CDF and give it to teachers who are not accommodated. That's not what I said. I'm saying Member of Parliament must use CDF to build houses for teachers. That has actually also answered your second question. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke to ask a follow-up question on the sister constituency, which is Milanzi in Katete. The Minister of, the Acting Minister of Education, you have said that the MP should use CDF to put up houses. But now, the 2023 CDF, the only money which the MP is supposed to use, it's 10.5. And that 10.5 divided by 12 wards, it's how much? It's less than 800. A house to build it needs more than 500. Now, in one word, what can she build? She should build a classroom, which is 1.5. It's not even enough. So the Member of Parliament for Miranzi is asking from the central government if you can help to cushion that small amount from CDF, which has been allowed to use, because all these other percentage, you have already allocated 20% to youth and women, 20% to grants, 5% to DMMU, 5% to administrative,
Thank you, Honorable
and
Member.
then 4 million to house ambulance and RIA and the House of Chiefs. The money which is remaining in 28, it's only 10 million. Now 10 million, you are putting her on fire.
Honorable Member, you are debating the question. Don't debate the question. You ask the question. The Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, I said 21 three-bedroom houses will be constructed from 2023 through to 2025. It's not only within 1 year. So this year construct 2, 3, or 4. Next year construct some more. You know, right now there are houses under construction. It's not that there is nothing happening there, Madam Speaker. Houses are under construction. And there's this program, Zambia Education Investment Project as well. Houses are being constructed there. You should listen when answers are being given. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Madam Speaker, the issue with CDF is becoming very popular. Many of us stating clearly that we have not been able to be funded 100%, while others, including the Minister of Finance, said it has been funded 100%. Now the problem is the pronouncements by the ministers that use CDF is alarming. Should we take these pronouncements as directives to WDCs so that it becomes clear that there is absolutely no mandate for the DCs to generate their own options? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I don't know whether it's the correct minister to answer that general statement. However, the Honorable Minister of Acting Minister of Education, Pond.
Madam Speaker, this government of UPN Dunyudon government, that's why we increased CDF, is to develop our rural areas. That's why we are talking about CDF, because we've gotten money from the central government to go into our rural settings. And that's why even the next year's budget, CDF has been increased. It's for such purpose. So it is clear, Honorable Member of Parliament, that CDF is a game changer. And use CDF. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Our colleagues, honorable ministers, should know that when they are making pronouncements on the floor, it's policy. They are not mere statements. Now, I want to be helpful to the honorable minister. With me is the budget for 2024. And under this budget, there are budget lines. The budget lines are school grants, school and university infrastructure, higher education scholarship board, constituency fund, which is going to secondary schools and skills development bursaries, And the last one under there is equipping of TVET institutions. Is the Honorable Minister in order to start citing? The question to the Honorable Minister is, those pronouncements you are making of saying members actually you are saying must construct houses for teachers in the constituency. And the breakdown has been given to you, how CDF is segmented. Where are you drawing that instruction from? And Vice, as I've highlighted, the money that goes to education sector is locked up here in the budget. And the figure is given to that effect, 999 million. Where are you drawing that pronouncement from to the honorable members of parliament, so that we don't mislead each other? Because what you are pronouncing here is policy. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, much as the minister mentioned CDF, but let's not go very wide, because we have a budget session where all those issues should be brought out. But this question, much as we are talking about the CDF, let's link it to Milazi constituency. The Honorable Minister, the Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, I think I said, even when I was responding to the question, is that we do have also another program called Zambia Education Investment Project, where some of these projects are being done. And for me to talk about CDF, it's probably what this government is emphasizing. But I'll leave much of these by the substantive Minister of Education. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. The last member, the Honorable Member for Itej-Teji. Let's be specific to the question.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And Minister, thank you for the responses given. My question is, as much as we appreciate that the deficit of teacher and houses is much, it's clear that we've demonstrated that there are some steps being taken by the ministry to build houses. Now, I'm getting confused. For Miranzi in particular, are the teachers not getting housing allowance? Because as far as I'm concerned, every teacher gets housing allowance.
The Acting Minister of Education.
I may not have much information, Madam Speaker, for that, but all I may know is that they do get hardship allowances as teachers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. If we need more information, please, on this matter, we are free to visit the office of the Minister of Education. There is a point of order, an indication for a point of order by the Honorable Member for Mwandi. What is your point of order, Honorable Member?
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker. My point of order is on the lead of government business. Yes.
You may proceed, Honorable Member.
My point of order, Madam Speaker, like I've indicated, is to the lead of government business. Madam Speaker, when this government came into,
Can you cite the standing order?
65.
65 what?
B.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, when the UPND government came into government, one of the things that they did was they provided free education. That means that all the children in Zambia are being paid for by the government. They've doubled the social cash transfer. They have increased the CDF from 1.6 now to 30.6 million. Government, 30.6 million. Currently, government has increased the grants for schools from 300,000 to 12,000. and they have paid retirees. So my point of order to the leader of government business is that the people out there are concerned that where was this money going before? So my point of order is the leader of government business in order to keep quiet and not come to here to the house to explain to the masses out there where this money now that government is spending on that the Zambians was going before.
Honorable Member for Mwandi. I think that matter was covered during her Honor the Vice President's question time, which has already passed. And I listened attentively to her Honor the Vice President when she said she'll come back to this house just to come and explain what the government has done. So that point of order is not admissible. Her Honor the Vice President will come at a later stage to come and tell the Zambians what the government has done, what hasn't been done, which promise hasn't been fulfilled. I think I got her very loud and clear. So your point of order is not admissible. We make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Isoka, especially the people of Hombwa Ward, are asking question number 79. I thank you.
Honorable members, is that the way to support the lady, surely? Yeah. The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Isoka asked the Minister of Mines whether the government issued mining licenses to any companies at Nkombwa Hill mine in Isoka parliamentary constituency. B, if so, what the names of the companies that were issued with mining licenses are, and C, if not, what measures are being taken to prevent illegal mining activities in the area. Our response is as follows. A, government through the Ministry of Mines has not issued any mining license at Nkombwa Hill. B, no company was issued a mining license in the area. And C, government through the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development undertakes monitoring and compliance inspection across the country, including the area in question. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, if you are saying that the government hasn't issued any license to any company, what then is the equipment of the African Kalamo company doing at the site? And who gave them the license or authority to mine? Or at whose interest are they carrying out such activity? I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. If there be anybody that is doing that, they are doing it illegally. Madam Speaker, only 2 days ago, I was with a chief from that area. We are discussing the same. So if those activities are taking place,
I'll definitely let my officials to go and check really what is going on, because the answer that we've given is a status quo. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Lundazi a chance to make a follow-up question to the Minister of Mines. Honorable Minister, the mineral which is being stolen, since there's no one you have given a license in Isoka, is useful. It's called phosphate, which can be useful for our country, Zambia. Me coming from Lundazi, definitely being a farming community, would benefit from this particular mineral called phosphate. Honorable Minister, people have taken advantage of you all over. They will steal gold, they will steal sugarite, and now phosphate is being mined illegally. Do you have enough staff, or do you need to involve the police and the Zambia army to help you so that our minerals can be safe? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. I'm really constrained to want to talk about a lot of things, especially responding to the so many issues that the Honorable Member has raised. I want to say that this government is restoring order to the mining sector. And the practical step that we've taken as government is creation of the Minerals Commission. It's coming as a regulator. What we lacked in this country is regulation, control. We didn't have control. Everybody was doing whatever they were doing, and nobody knew what was happening. Zambia is 750,000 square kilometers. And if you have just a ministry seated in Lusaka and a few bureaus dotted around, you can't know what is happening in Kaputa, where Honorable Nkandu comes from, for example. You can't know what is happening in Kapisha. You can't know what is happening in Chipata unless you put systems in place that will create a government presence everywhere. And that is what the Minerals Commission is coming to do. And the bill is coming to this very sitting of this very sitting. This very sitting. Are you not sitting now?
Order,
So I thank
members.
you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lukasha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, now that you've been alerted to the presence of illegal miners on site, how quickly is government going to take measures to restore order in that area? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
We will bring order to that place like yesterday. So just know that as much as we are alerted this time around, we are moving in. I was just talking about the fact that I was with the chief for the area about 2 days ago in my office discussing the same. So we will move in definitely as government to make sure that, order is restored to the place. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Isoka, I'm seeing the button coming on and off. Do you have a question?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the minister said he can't know because the Zambia is big. Last year, I stood here in this August House and talked about the same mine. And the minister told me that he will look into that matter. But up to now, he hasn't told me anything about it. That's why I was concerned, Madam Speaker. I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. I was not saying that Zambia is too big, that's why, no. I think I was referring to the question by the other Honorable Member, Madam Speaker, and trying to make a point, and through this House, the country to know that this government is restoring order in the mining sector, which was in confusion. We are stopping the confusion, and part of it was illegal mining, which was all over the country. And for us to stop it, we can't just stop it by word of mouth. We have to put systems in place. What systems are we putting in place? I've just informed the House that we are bringing the Minerals Commission bill here.
so that we have a regulator that will be dotted right across the country. This is what we are doing. So for you to bring order, it's not just by telling the police, go and shoot people. No. Put systems in place. The other system, Madam Speaker, apart from regulation, formalize people who are there. That is why you rarely hear me say illegal miners. Because they are Zambians who are trying to survive, but nobody was taking care because there was confusion. So this government is saying, can we formalize? And the formalization process is in high gear. Only yesterday, Madam Speaker, we finished procuring equipment and everything that will help the formalization of small-scale and artisanal miners. So these are issues that we are doing. So for you to have order and stop all the illegalities, you don't sit on the rooftop and just shout, stop illegalities. You do something about it. What are we doing? The bill is coming here. We are formalizing. We are giving licenses to artisanal and small-scale miners. This is how you do things, then order will be restored, and you no longer, Honorable Member, be talking about illegal mining in those areas. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, when you hear people lament over these issues, it means there's a challenge. Yes, you are talking about the new regulator coming in. Here at this August House, we have a report which spoke to the illegalities happening in the backyard of KCM, Senseli, structured illegal activities happening there. We brought an issue about Kanyelele in Impika. You tried to move in, just a week, people went back. It's the same in most of these areas where these illegalities are going on. And really, tekukutendeka iwe minister. You don't have to, you know, these are national matters. These are national matters. When we're bringing them to attention, it's for you to do something. You understand? So when you are saying
order. Please just focus on your question. What is your question, Honorable Member?
My question, Madam Speaker, is, in the meantime, you have got law enforcement that you can partner with to move in and curtail these activities. Do we just have to wait for this commission that you are going to bring, which legislation is yet to be done, in order for you to do what you are saying you are restoring order? Because we are losing minerals. When we see people flying in with dollars in the airplanes and hoping to get gold from the airport, it's not a good sign. It's a sign of lawlessness, breakdown of law and order.
Order, Honorable
Madam
Member.
Speaker.
Don't debate. Just wind up your question.
My question to the Honorable Minister is,
question.
What can you do in the meantime to ensure that these illegalities in soccer happening now? And the Honorable Member, we went there with her to see what was happening. And it's a sorry sight. What are you going to do in the meantime to ensure that these illegalities are curtailed? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I thank you very much for that question, and I hope that I can put this issue to bed. Madam Speaker, when we are putting systems in place, we are not saying that we are just seated. There are also, for example, I'll give an example of Luapula now. Only 2 days ago, you heard the police arresting people that are doing illegal mining. This government is so transparent that some of these things, we were not hearing them. The ransacking of minerals that was going on previously, we were not hearing these things. But this government is exposing, and it has shown intent. President Ichlema has shown intent that there will be no sacred cows. We have the police all over, dotted, checking illegal mining. So we are not saying that we are only waiting for these systems. And I want to say this, Madam Speaker. The responsibility, because this KCM Senseli mine has been talked about, and the people have gone to town to lie in the media
that no, there are 15,000 illegal miners at Sensei, which is not the correct position. Madam Speaker, if you have 15,000 people at KCM illegally, you will see them. 15,000 is just a huge number. According to the Mines and Minerals Act, Madam Speaker, it is the responsibility of the license holder. If there is a license holder and there is illegal mining, actually a license can be withdrawn if you, the license holder, is not dealing with illegal mining. It's because there was breakdown in the rule of law in this country and people were not following the act. The act has all those provisions. So, Madam Speaker, yes, we are bringing systems in place, but we are also making sure that the police are all over helping us to make sure that we keep illegal mining all over the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There are 2 points of order. I'll take the first member that had indicated. The Honorable Member for Bahati, what is your point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a very serious point of order, citing Standing Order number 65B. Madam Speaker, Swigilite was just recently discovered in Luapula province. Is the minister therefore, Madam Speaker, in order to refer to a mineral which was just discovered and is being plundered by UPND members, that it was plundered, that the mineral was plundered at the time of PF, when, Madam Speaker, the mineral was just discovered a few months ago, and it's being looted. We are now by UPND members, and some are locked up at the police station in Mansa. Madam Speaker, I need your serious ruling. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, we are looking at a very simple and straightforward question before us. I had guided to say, can we stick to the question? Now the problem which has arisen, we have gone away from the question. And now even points of orders are coming, connecting to issues that are not related to Isoka. So can we please be focused? I'm not going to admit that point of order. Can we be specific and focused to the question by the Honorable Member for Isoka? It is straightforward. We make progress. We move to the next question. Yes, I know. I'll come. The Honorable Member for Chamanot. North. Chamanot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 80.
Okay. Before we make progress, we attend to the last point of order. The Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I wish to appreciate the guidance that you've been given. But when information has been brought on the floor of the House, I think it's only important that it's put straight. So sometimes, Madam Speaker, as you've guided, when ministers are responding and they go outside the question, it becomes difficult for us just to ignore because they've put some information forth. So my point of order is pursuant to Standing Order 65. The matter relating to illegal mining in KCM by a company called Sensele was brought on the floor of this House by a committee of Parliament. The report is there. We asked several questions on the floor of this House. So if the minister comes on the floor and says people have been lying about the presence of illegal miners, and also that it's a responsibility of the license holder, before Vedanta came in, whose responsibility was the operation at KCM? Because the honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker, that you sent to KCM were asking who Senseli Mine was. And the ownership of this company could not be ascertained. It was a very big worry for us as a country that at our largest mining asset, there was presence of a mechanized mining operation which nobody reported. And the report was establishing the illicit flows, financial flows.
Order, honorable members. Order. The leader of opposition, you may continue. You may continue.
Yes, thank you. So is the Honorable Minister of Mines in order to insinuate that members on this floor, your members of parliament, who came by way of a report reporting on Sensele mining, were actually laying falsehoods on the floor of the House? Is he in order to insinuate that? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. I will reserve my ruling. I'll come back to this House in a few days to make my ruling. The Honorable, the Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. That is question number 80.
The Honourable Member of Parliament for Chama North, Mr. Mutaya Charo, is asking the Minister of Home Affairs the following question. A, whether the government is aware that some police officers have been sexually abusing detainees in police custody. B, if so, what measures the government is taking to curb the vice and reassure the public. And C, whether a commission of inquiry will be set up to establish the depth of the problem. Madam Speaker, our answer is as follows. Under A, whether the government is aware or not, the government is aware of some sexual abuse cases on detainees in police custody alleged committed by police officers. The Zambia Police Service recorded 3 sexual abuse cases allegedly perpetrated by the police officers against detainees from January to June, the year 2023, broken down as follows. 1, 2 cases of sodomy in Lusaka district, and 1 case of defilement in Southern Province. The 2 cases of sodomy are still under investigations, while the defilement case is before the courts of law. In the suspected cases of sodomy, police in Lusaka province on 30th of May 2023 at 11:30 hours recorded 2 reports in which 2 male suspects detained at Kalundu police post were allegedly sodomized by a police officer who was in charge of the post on 28th of May 2023 between 20:30 and 23 hours. Brief facts of the matter are that on 28th of May 2023, around 18 hours, a named police officer took over the night shift at Kalundu Police Post alone. At about 20:30 hours, the officer got one suspect, aged 38 from the cell, whom we forced to have intercourse with through the unnatural order in the Criminal Investigation Office. The suspect was facing a charge of theft. The suspect was allegedly made to penetrate the officer. After the ordeal, the suspect was taken back to the cell with a promise to be released the following day in the morning. Later in the night, the officer got another subject, aged 28, who was also facing a charge of theft from the cell, and took him to the Criminal Investigation Office, where he handcuffed him and allegedly forced him to have intercourse with him through the unnatural odor. The officer penetrated the subject in the matter. During the act, the suspect managed to shout and push away the officer. The suspect was later taken back to the cell, and in the morning, on 29th of May 2023, the two victims of the alleged sexual assault reported the matter to the shift personnel that took over the duties from the officer. Investigations have been instituted. A manhunt for the officer has since been launched, as he is still still on the run. In the case of defilement, on 30th May 2023 at 16:50 hours, Champande Police Post recorded a report in which a 14-year-old girl was allegedly defiled by a police officer between 29th of May 2023 around 21 hours and 30th May 2023 around 01 hours at Champande Police Post in Choma. The matter was reported by the mother of the victim. Circumstances are that the victim was brought to the police post by her mother on 29th of May 2023 around 19 hours on allegations that she had stolen money amounting to 700 kwacha from her Airtel mobile money account. The police officer who was on duty detained her. Later in the night, the officer got a minor from the cell and allegedly had carnal knowledge of her in a car that was parked at the police post. Police naturally instituted investigations leading to the arrest of the officer. The matter is before the courts of law. Under B, if so, what measures the government is taking to curb the vice and reassure the public? One, police officers that have been found wanting in sexual abuse cases and any other criminal cases have been arrested and charged for their alleged offenses. Two, the Zambia Police Service has been undertaking sensitization programs to police officers to ensure that they are professional. Under C, whether a commission of inquiry will be set up to establish the depth of the problem. The answer is a commission of inquiry will not be established to probe the depth of the problem because the issue at the moment does not warrant, neither does it require a commission of inquiry to come into place. The Zambia police has managed to investigate the occurrences and will continue to do so. And one of the cases is already before the courts of law. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Acting Minister of Home Affairs, for that detailed response. Honorable Minister, the Inspector General of Police had made very serious allegations that the PF government employed junkies in the police who were sexually abusing these detainees. So I want to find out from you, those police officers who are currently facing those investigations, when were they employed? Were they employed during the PF government or maybe UNIP or the MMD government? Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thanks very much for that question. I must say that the New Dawn government, since its inception, has not had the opportunity to employ or recruit police personnel. And so naturally, it couldn't be the New Dawn government which employed these police people. They are from the previous government. Those are the ones who employed them. I thank you.
Order. As the time is 10:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes.
There you have it. The business has been suspended for a 20-minute health break, and under consideration questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. And at the time business was being suspended, the acting Minister of Home Affairs was responding to a supplementary question that was posed by Mr. Yotam Mutayachalo. The House has been considering question number 80, which did actually come from Mr. Yotam Mutayachalo, who is Tama North Member of Parliament.
Yes, when business resumed at 09 hours, the House considered Her Honor the Vice President's question time, a segment of 45 minutes where members of Parliament are given a chance to ask questions to Her Honor the Vice President. And so the House has so far considered 2 questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74, and still to be considered on the order paper is 1 question for oral answer under Standing Order 74 and resumption of debate on a motion of supply. And so just now we go on a break. Remember, business of the House will resume at 11 hours. Good morning.
The Zambian government has taken steps to address the issue of gender equity by implementing policies and programs aimed at promoting gender equality and women's empowerment. For instance, the Gender Equity and Equality Act of 2015 was enacted to promote equal opportunities for men and women in all spheres of life, including leadership positions. Nonetheless, efforts continue being made to increase women's representation in political leadership as the gender gap still remains visible. It is against this background that the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians (CWP) held a stakeholder engagement meeting on charting the course for achieving gender parity in the Zambian Parliament held on 25 September 2023 at Parliament Buildings in Lusaka. Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, the Right Honourable Madam Nelly Muti, MP, FAPRA, says there is need to support the representation of the minority groups, particularly women in decision-making positions.
The Zambia chapter of the Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians resolved to engage you, the stakeholders, in charting the course for achieving affirmative action towards increased representation of women in the Zambian Parliament. The National Assembly of Zambia is in the process of finalizing the Standing Orders 2023, and as mentioned by the Honorable Deputy Government Whip, one of the key outcomes of the proposed transformation of the Zambian Parliamentary Caucus, ZWPC, into a Standing Parliamentary Committee on Women Affairs in a bid to give prominence to women affairs in Parliament.
And speaking at the same meeting, Clerk of the National Assembly of Zambia, Mr. Roy Nguluve, noted that there is need to broaden the perspective of gender parity in Parliament by creating a roadmap that will help push for the bill in Parliament.
The need to achieve gender parity in the Zambian Parliament cannot be overemphasized. This meeting is therefore an opportunity for us to challenge ourselves and broaden our perspectives of gender parity in the National Assembly of Zambia. The current statistics of the composition of the National Assembly of Zambia in terms of gender parity are regrettably very low, very, very low. As of January 2023, out of 25 cabinet ministers, only 4 or 16%, and Madam Speaker, I know you speak a lot about this, only 4 or 16% are women. At parliamentary level, out of 167 members of parliament, only 25 or a paltry 15% are women. And at local government level, out of 1,858 councillors, only 141 or 7.5% are women. But compare this to the number of women participants or the population of women, I think that your guess is as good as mine. And therefore, I think there's a lot that is needed to interrogate this disparity in the figures.
And Central Province Minister, who is also the chairperson of the Zambia Women's Parliamentary Caucus, Honorable Princess Kasune, MP, observed that women uphold good qualities in Parliament.
I am excited today on behalf of my colleagues and to see an array of stakeholders from different institutions and groupings in this meeting. The CWP Stakeholder Engagement Meeting on Chartering the Course for Achieving Gender Parity in Zambia is indeed intended to epic-making meeting which will spur many stakeholders to take action towards achieving gender parity in Zambia, in the Zambian Parliament. The wide array of stakeholders gathered here today gives us confidence as female members of Parliament and indeed as women in general that we will make strides in the governance of women in Zambia as well as the gender parity becoming a reality in Zambia. We offer these findings that women are more loyal, women work hard, sometimes 3 times on their male colleagues. Women are mothers and nurturers at heart, and they bring these very attributes to their work. As already alluded to, Madam Speaker, by the clerk, that the numbers are staggering and the numbers have reduced. And some of the challenges, Madam Speaker, just to highlight a few in the interest of time, it is the lack of party policies of affirmative actions to ensure that we retain more women within parties and to ensure that women are adopted.
The engagement meeting, which also had virtual participations from Rwanda and South Africa, heard on how the two countries have managed to increase women representation in Parliament. The engagement meeting further went into a panel discussion on the topic, "Is Zambia ready for gender parity in Parliament?"
When a man is appointed, nobody asks whether he's qualified. When a woman is appointed, the first question is she qualified? If 2 people are appointed with the same qualifications in similar positions, the woman receives more scrutiny and we are judged differently. And that is why we are not ready. It is a patriarchal thinking. But otherwise, if we're a democracy, we must be ready, because everybody should participate in this democracy.
There's a lot within our culture that is rich, which talks about unity. So we can go on and on and on. But in summary, what I can say is, yes, are we ready? There are a lot of challenges, but we do not have a choice but to be ready now. Where we are now is where a lot of our colleagues were when they started. We've seen South Africa and Rwanda, good examples which have achieved a lot in under 3 decades.
As I was looking at this particular subject, one thing hit me, the fact that if you're going to talk about a regulatory framework, it's not going to exist outside of other factors. So one thing that Zambia has is we have very good policies when you look at them, we have very good laws. But outside of that, are we putting in place other factors that can help us achieve what we want to achieve? So when we're looking at gender parity, I'm thinking about we actually need to start from the children. So what have we done in terms of socializing children? From the Law Association of Zambia point of view, we are saying it is achievable in the sense that we need a law which mandates a court. A court is a catalyst change to what we are talking about in here. We need a law which will give us a certain percentage to go to female adoption.
And first Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, Honorable Malungo H. Sangano, MP, expressed her gratitude in a vote of thanks.
I'm very delighted to note that this meeting has exceeded even my most highest expectations in all respects, including here in the meeting room, during the sessions, and outside, socially in the restaurant. I hope that the contacts that have been made here will continue in the future, as I'm convinced that they are very useful. I wish to state that listening to the experiences of Rwanda and South Africa, who have gone ahead of us in achieving gender parity in Parliament, and the discussions that have been held throughout the day, I'm highly confident that the drive towards gender parity in the Zambian Parliament has started in earnest. I therefore wish to thank you all for the wonderful deliberations and emphasize that the closure of this meeting is the beginning of our journey to achieving gender parity in the Zambian Parliament.
While such engagement meetings are important, continued commitment to gender equality, implementation of policies, and empowerment of women needs to be championed.
My name is Honorable Dr. Christopher Kalila, MP, Member of Parliament for Lukulu East, Parliamentary Constituency. Lukulu East is in Western Province, approximately 700 to 750 kilometers westwards, and after Kaoma you go northwestwards. So Lukulu is one constituency and one district. According to the 2022 census of population, it's currently housing more than 96,000 inhabitants in terms of the population, and I must say that it's sparsely populated with roughly about 14 persons per square kilometer. So that's basically about the constituency. Most of the people suffer from chronic poverty, with poverty estimated somewhere around 85% of most of the people live below the poverty datum line. And also, according to the sub-national analysis report of 2019 from the Ministry of National Planning at the time, it is reported that extreme poverty stands at around 70%. So you can see that the main challenge obviously is chronic poverty in that constituency, being a typical rural constituency. So as a Member of Parliament there, I got elected in 2011 on the MMD ticket at the time, but I was not the first time to the National Assembly, having been there earlier as a nominated Member of Parliament from 2008 to 2011, and then in 2011 I contested the seat, and I've been in the National Assembly since then. So in short, I've been elected 3 times by the people of Lukulu, and then I've also been a nominated member once. So if you like, in the National Assembly, this is my 4th term. But in the constituency, it is my third term. So I must say that I've been around for a while, and I wish to pay glowing tribute and gratitude to the people of Lukulu, who have always found me very useful to answer to the development challenges, to represent them here, to be able to participate in national political affairs at their behest. So I say thank you very much to them. Of course, in 2016 I made a switch from the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy and joined the United Party for National Development. So I've been a member of Parliament of the UPND a second time. I'm a family man, happily married to one wife, Nora, and we have 3 lovely children, 1 son and 2 daughters. Our youngest daughter is 17. She's just matriculated from Kapiri Technical Girls School with flying colors in all her 8 subjects. So basically, that is from my side as a family man. In terms of my professional and education background, I'm a medical doctor by profession, fully registered with the Medical Health and Professions Council, having graduated from the University of Zambia Medical School somewhere around 1993, did internship at the University Teaching Hospital, and left to join the private sector initially with the Zambia State Insurance Corporation, who were running medical services at the time. And after that, I went into private practice as a general practitioner on the Copper Belt until 2008, when I was called to National Affairs by the late President Rupia Banda as a nominated Member of Parliament and subsequently appointed as a Deputy Minister. I held 3 portfolios in that government, having Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, and after a year I was transferred to the Ministry of Works and Supply, again for another year, and subsequently to the Ministry of Health, where I was Deputy Minister to Honorable Kapembwa Simbao until the elections of 2011. So basically, that is to sum up exactly my political journey as well as my family life and professional background.
You can now advertise on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. For more information, call 0977 854102 or 0977 536487. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for still being with us on Parliament Television. At the time, business was suspended for a 20-minute health break. On the floor of the House was the Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, responding to a supplementary question that was posed by Chairman North Member of Parliament, Mr. Yotam Mutayachalo, on a question that has been posed by Chairman North Member of Parliament, Mr. Yotam Mutayachalo, where he wanted to find out whether the government is aware that some police officers have been sexually abusing detainees in police custody. And in the B part of the question, he wanted to find out, if so, what measures the government is taking to curb the vice and reassure the public. And in the C part of the question, he wanted to find out whether a commission of inquiry will be set up to establish the depth of the problem.
And yet to be considered is question number 81, which is expected to come from Mr. Levan Chiwombwe, who is Bahati Member of Parliament, and he is expected to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development a question in 3 parts: whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the Mansa-Kashikishi Road, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and when the rehabilitation of the Tuta Road between Chitambo and Sanfia districts will be completed.
And still to come on the order paper also we have resumption of debate on a motion of supply, a motion of 29th September 2023 that was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And so at the time business was interrupted yesterday, it was a Ferreira, Member of Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, who was debating to this motion. Just now we take you to the floor of the House. Vision. Bells are ringing. It seems we don't have a quorum in the House, and it is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament must be present in the House for business to transact. And so once the quorum is formed, we expect business of the House to resume.
And we do expect the Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to continue responding to a supplementary question that was posed by Mr. Yotam Mutachalo, who is Chairman, not Member of Parliament. And actually, the Minister earlier was responding to question 80, which was actually posed by Mr. Yotam Mutachalo, on whether the government is aware that some police officers have been sexually abusing detainees in police custody. If so, what measures the government is taking to curb the vice and reassure the public, and whether a commission of inquiry will be set up to establish the depth of the problem.
Yes, Taza, and still to come on the order paper, we expect the House to consider one more question for oral answer under Standing Order 74, and we also expect a resumption of debate on a motion of supply, a motion that was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, a motion of 29th September 2023, that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And so just now we take you to it.
When business was suspended, the House was considering question number 80 on the order paper asked by the Honorable Member for Chairman North. And the Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security had just finished responding to a supplementary question. Any further debate? Any further supplementary question not to say? Honorable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs, when crime is being perpetrated by ordinary citizens, we are safe. But when crime is being perpetrated by law enforcement agencies, then there's a call for worry. Honorable Minister of Defense, or rather Acting Minister of Home Affairs, you are aware that the cases of homosexuality, sodomy in this particular case, has been rising in the past. So many reported cases of children being sodomized. The worst now is that people that are being arrested, put in police custody, are now being sodomized by the very people who are supposed to be protecting us. There was, Mr. Speaker, a request by one member to this August House that perhaps we should have discussed the possibilities of strengthening the law on homosexuality, which request was turned down. Honorable Minister of, or rather Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs, don't you think we have reached a point where we should put aside politics and look at the possibility of stiffening the law to punish perpetrators of homosexuality? Because if now it's being practiced by the very people who should have been protecting the citizens. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker, I was almost being put in cells 2 weeks ago
You can imagine the scare. Because all of us are potential casualties in those police cells. And then police officers should be sodomizing us. Don't you think we've reached a point, Mr. Speaker, where we should discuss the possibility of stiffening the law to deal with perpetrators of homosexuality? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Home Affairs, Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Member from Ghana, for that very, very important question. I must say here that it is very, very unfortunate what is happening. Yes, you can be scared that the police that are supposed to protect us are doing otherwise. But we should know that, honestly, that these are isolated cases. They are not the norm in the police service. They are isolated. And in every society, you have some of these abnormalities. So they are isolated cases and do not warrant our going in to change the laws that govern or punish such offenders. Because the law as it is, Mr. Speaker, is stiff enough. All it needs is application. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chembe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the procedure is that no officer should go to a police cell alone to get a suspect, both female or male cells. Now, with the happenings that are happening in police stations, Honorable Minister, are you saying that the officers are not fully supervised to adhere to the procedure that they are supposed to follow? Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. Honorable Member for Nkana. Maybe you want to go and chat from outside. May the Honorable Minister continue?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that question. I don't think it's an issue of supervision. This is an issue of a lack of adequate manpower, which then allows an officer to go alone. If we had enough and adequate manpower, this situation definitely would not be arising. And so, as a government, we are looking into this by the recruitment that annual recruitment programs that we want instituted, so that we have adequate manpower in order to ensure that what you have described, two, not one going to open, but two at least, so that there's a check, counter check would then be implemented. So this is a situation, and we are working towards ensuring that it becomes a thing of the past. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Itestezi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to ask a follow-up question. Acting Minister, indeed the revelations that we are getting about GBV cases in the police is something which is sad and that we should not be able to see going forward. Minister, one of the key departments in the Zambia police which is tasked to curb gender-based violence is the Victim Support Unit. And I've observed that this unit has been neglected for a long time. And I would want to hear what assurance you would give Minister on how, as a new dawn, we might treat this department differently so that we safeguard the children and the women who go for protection in the Zambia police cells, who are not supposed to be victimized by the police, who should protect them. Thank you.
Maybe the acting minister can comment, but it's a totally different question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thanks very much, Honorable Member, for that question. I'll answer it in the same way. This basically is a lack of adequate manpower, and we would like to attach the importance to the victim support unit as should be attached. And as far as we know, each and every station, police station, has a victim support unit. What may like is the adequacy in terms of manpower. Again, what we are saying is that with the annual recruitment program, we should be able to reinforce these victim support units in each and every police station that are existing at the moment. I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Chairman North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ask another follow-up question. Honourable Minister, since we are seeing a steady rise in these cases of police officers sexually abusing detainees, what measures are you putting in place as a ministry to minimize the contact between female detainees and the male police officers, maybe by ensuring that more women police officers are recruited?
The Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And thanks very much, Honourable Member for Chairman North. I think you have answered your own question. And the answer is essential that we recruit more female, so that there's a female-to-female interaction other than a male-to-female interaction. So your answer, you have the answer, and I would gladly like to adopt it as my answer to your question. I thank you.
Thank you. We make progress. Next question. By prior notice, the Minister of Transport and Logistics is acting as Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. The Honourable Member for Bahati.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the good people of Bahati are asking question number 81.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Bahati to ask the Minister of Infrastructure the three-part question, Mr. Speaker, as follows. In A, whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the Mansa Kashikishi Road. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And C, when the rehabilitation of the Tuta Road will be completed. In response to the questions, Mr. Speaker, we wish to respond as follows. A, government certainly has plans to rehabilitate selected sections of the Mansa Kashikishi Road which are in poor condition. And B, the plans will be implemented in 2024. And C, completion of the rehabilitation of the 80-kilometer section of the Tuta Road will be known once procurement process is concluded and a new contractor is engaged. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Bahati.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must see the responses from the minister are not so clear, because there's a contractor at site already on the Tuta Road, and the minister has just said something to the contrary. This contractor is working, though his pace is quite slow, is at snail's pace, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted to find out if this contractor, who's currently at site on the Tuta, has been fully funded to complete all the patching up of the 80 kilometers from Tuta Bridge to somewhere where the swamp ends. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. His position is government position, unless the minister wants to shed some light on it.
Mr. Speaker, just to say that unless there is a lapse in time from when this question was submitted, but obviously this is the position as has been given to me as acting infrastructure minister. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bambashe.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, maybe the background, Minister, the Great North Road, part of the funding that was coming from the World Bank was a portion to do the Tuta Bridge up to Musaira. That, and of course, from the Kafue Pan up to Mons as part of the funding. And in your response, you said once the contractor is sought, and maybe I understand, maybe because of the passage of time of the question and the answers are being provided. Are we looking for the new contractor and financial mobilization? And after that, resources that were saved from Nakonde to Chinsari as part of the money that was allocated to also do the Tuta Bridge, the Tuta Road up to Musaira Junction. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to say that the project implementation had been affected by funding challenges, resulting in the termination of the contract when progress was only at 8%. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I was getting confused with the new road which will be built through Mansa Kaputa Chiengi. It's on the other side of Luapula. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Honorable Minister, the importance of that road cannot be overemphasized. And before 2021, there was a contractor on site. I just want to, on behalf of the people of Bahati and Bangweulu, to find out if the contractor who is doing the patching up is the same contractor that was on site before 2021. Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I totally agree with the Honourable Member on how we cannot overemphasize the importance of that particular road. And suffice to say that the rehabilitation of that particular road the contract was for periodic maintenance, as I've been made to understand, and that it had been awarded to Messrs. Nakangere Construction Limited in 2020 for a contract sum of 401 million. But as was the practice in the previous regime, Mr. Speaker, we do not know quite the efficaciousness of this particular contract and whether indeed funds had been made fully available. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bahati.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish the Minister of Infrastructure was here because he was going to give us a good responses. I don't know if we can postpone this question and wait for the Minister, to come.
Speak up a bit, Honourable Member.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the responses we are getting from the Minister are not so good, they are worrisome, they are not so clear. So I was asking if at all we could postpone this question till the Minister of Infrastructure is here, because the Minister seemed to me to be so blank. He's just, he's basing his responses on hearsay.
Honorable member.
We can respond, Mr. Speaker.
It's blank.
Honorable member, I think, let me caution the honorable member. As much as you're asking, maybe you can take your seat.
Allow us to
Let's not be offensive in our approach to insinuate that the minister doesn't know anything, it's blank. It's better you just ask the question as it is.
Allow us to respond, Mr. Speaker.
May the honorable minister respond to his question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just to respond to the honorable member and say that the way government operates, particularly for parliamentary business, is that the questions and the responses are not prepared for acting persons. These were the same answers that the substantive minister was going to provide to this august House. So it appears, Mr. Speaker, it is indeed the honorable member for Bahati who's totally blank. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let's make progress. Maybe caution to the House. If members will already know answers, then there's no need to ask. The clerk will now read the orders of the day.
Supply motion of 29 September 2023, resumption of debate.
When business was interrupted yesterday, Thursday, 5th October 2023, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning that the House now do resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023, and the Honorable Member for Feira was debating. May the Honorable Member continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just made the point that the former Republican President, now late, President Manawasa, had reminded this country that the stomach is in front for us to know the importance of food. But, Mr. Speaker, let me address myself to paragraph 3 of the speech, and this is on page 1, which says, since coming into office, just 2 years, our administration has achieved excellent progress in changing the social and economic landscape of our country. And I would like to interrogate that. Mr. Speaker, this statement is very dangerous because it's saying excellent progress in social and economic landscape of our country. I say this because, one, firstly, the same speech talks about the living conditions survey which was done in 2022, which reveals that actually poverty has gone up. Now, what excellent progress is that? Mr. Speaker, the price of milling has gone up from 150 to 300. What excellent progress is that? If we talk about fuel, which we expected, because these are issues that will underpin the performance of the budget. The fuel has moved from 17 to 30 kwacha. Mr. Speaker, I'm doubting what that statement meant by saying, fundamental progress. The cost of connecting electricity for domestic use is now at 5,000. From a mayor, 700 in rural areas. And this is a very serious problem for the people of Zambia. And by the way, when we talk about problems, these are what we refer to. Therefore, we are wondering what economic progress has been made. Actually, I agree with the UPND. They've made important progress in the social and economic sphere in destroying the economy. That is very true. Mr. Speaker, I actually didn't know that Zambia was involved in the Russia-Ukraine war. Because if you look at page 10, page 2 of paragraph, and particularly on paragraph 10, it reads, Russia-Ukraine war has largely, and the use of word largely, Mr. Speaker, has really gotten me concerned. How can the Russian-Ukraine war largely affect the Zambian economy? And we have nothing to do with that war. And even here, when they voted, we voted against the war. So surely, a prudent government which is methodical, which is fighting all these things, is failing to really come to terms with things. Mr. Speaker, let me also say that the shortage of maize, Mr. Speaker, it reads shortage of maize, that is page 6, shortage of maize because other countries and traders have started buying maize even when it was still green in the fields. Other countries can only buy maize with a license. There's no way a country, Congo, can buy. Mr. Speaker, vakahulisha mapopwe ku Congo abantu. What I mean, they've sold all the maize to Congo, and that's why the milling prices are high. And would have loved the minister to tell us and come to terms and say, look, this is what we've done, and we did a mistake, and will not repeat it. Now, I would have loved also serious measures made in the agricultural sector to indicate how we were going to address this. I'm very aware that measures to arrest milling prices are not there, but there are measures to arrest the opposition political parties. Mr. Speaker, let me briefly talk about free education. Mr. Speaker, the idea of free education sounds good.
There's a point of order by the Honorable Minister of Water.
Most obliged.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, and I want to apologize to my brother for disturbing his line of thought. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member for Pitauke.
Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely concerned, and I rise in accordance with Standing Order number 65, which requires us to be factual, to provide this information, this House with information which is factual. The Member of Parliament on the floor is informing the country that this government has sold all the maize to Congo. All the maize, and I want to underline, all the maize to Congo. An extremely misleading statement. He has gone further to suggest that Zambia, he has just learned that Zambia has been involved in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, this is a very worrying line of debate as the country is listening and is watching. Mr. Speaker, is it in order to come to the House and mislead the country, mislead the House with such very destroying information? I seek your serious ruling, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, let's desist to making alarming statements. I think 2 weeks ago, the Minister of Agriculture came to the floor of the House. I think he mentioned that we've got enough strategic reserves. So the Honorable Member for Feira is completely out of order. For misleading himself and misleading the country. May the Honorable Member for Feira continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, here in this House, there's been talk of free education. Free education was started in UNIP, and those of us who were living at that time knew the true meaning of free education. In 2012, the PF enacted the Free Education Act, and I know most of these people talk about it, have not known about that. Free education, proper, was started by you. Yes, we left out the PTF fees, and this was an agreement between parents and teachers, and it has nothing to do with government. We've come to scrap that, and indeed, what has actually happened is that even paying a guard now, when there's no government funding, is a problem. But that is what PTF fees used to take care of. Immediate things like chalks or repairing a borehole was used from those PTF funds. Because of that, there are problems. Mr. Speaker, Let me also mention that because of high cost of living, children are now leaving schools. In fact, unlike what the minister said, children are now going to help their parents to raise their living.
There is a point of order, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I pity the member who is on the floor. The member who is on the floor is referred to as the Honorable Lenedy Counsel. That's how we refer to him. A Lenedy Honorable Counsel for failure. Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member, the Lenedy, in order to show, to insinuate that there is no free education without him laying evidence on the table showing that there is no free education. One, honorable member, has he taken time to read the rules that govern the grants? Has he? Let him prove. If not, is he in order? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, as we debate, let's be factual. I think every member of parliament knows that there's free education. As long as you have a constituency, you know that free education is there. So the honorable member of Feira is completely out of order. May the honorable member continue.
Mr. Speaker, my brother just misled me because I didn't say that there's no free education. I said free education. There was one in the Kaunda which is real. And there's one we started in 2012, which our colleagues only scrapped the PTF funds. Okay, I continue. Mr. Speaker, I was just underscoring the last point on education. That because of high minimum prices, what has actually happened is that children, instead of attending school, they're actually going to help their parents raise money for their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned issue of electricity. In rural areas, the PF government brought the electricity grid. But our colleagues have raised, the connections fees, where rural areas now are failing to actually access at 5,000. The mining sector. Mr. Speaker, we need to emphasize, we can't run away from this issue of vendetta. Vendetta is and was at all material times a wrong project ab initio. From the beginning, it was a wrong project. And even wonder why my colleagues have brought it. If not, and Mr. Speaker, let me just indicate also.
Honorable member, what did you say?
Mr. Speaker, maybe their hand was twisted for them to forget what they said about this vendetta. Because it was a darling today when it was about. So, Mr. Speaker, on taxation, 144 billion in the budget will be taxed locally. Now, with this depressed economy, who are you going to tax? Mr. Minister, what an answer for that one. We know that companies are making a lot of money from copper, gold, diamonds, uranium, sugilite, and many others, emeralds. Why can't we tax this instead of going to the already finished Zambian? Mr. Speaker, let me also...
Order. Your time is up, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I apologize to my colleague for disturbing his thoughts. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Learned Counsel, who has just finished debating, stated in his debate that the Patriotic Front government passed a Free Education Act. And Honorable Speaker, I have never heard of such an act in this country, and it doesn't exist. Is the member in order to mislead the nation that there is such an act when it doesn't exist? What is there is the Education Act. Is he in order to mislead the nation in that manner and mislead himself?
Thank you. The honorable...
And I'm standing on the standing order number 65, Mr. Speaker.
The honorable member who just finished debating for Feira is completely out of order. It's not good, honorable members, to
as you debate, ensure that whatever utterances you are putting across on the floor are issues that you can comprehend and you understand very well to avoid misleading the public. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to congratulate this budget.
Honorable Member, what did you say?
Congratulate.
Meaning what? It's a name of someone?
Meaning the research have gone through and analyzed it and a lot of things, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the good people of Petauke, on behalf of the good people of Petauke, this budget I'm holding, they were very happy, and with some of them, I invited them to come and listen, and I went ahead to sensitize that on such day, when the Minister of Finance will be representing the budget, everyone should be sitting attentively, listening to the budget, Mr. Speaker. And everyone, they followed that because the Member of Parliament told them. And in response, when I went on the weekend to hear from them, what did you get? They told me, our Member of Parliament, go to Parliament, tell them to say, this budget, it's for the rich people, not for the poor. Not for the poor, Mr. Speaker. Yes, someone would question me, I know, because them here, they are drinking mineral water. Our people there, they are drinking from the well, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I won't be moved this time around. I'm in charge here, so let me talk. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll start first with education. Education. The people of Petauke Central Constituency and Eastern Province at large, they are crying. When they were listening to this budget for the rich, they were expecting that even the poor will be represented in this budget by putting a university in Eastern Province. In Eastern Province, Mr. Speaker, with the good initiative of free education, we need a university. We don't have a university in Eastern Province. Continue. We don't have a university, Mr. Speaker. And it's good that even one of the speakers we have been blessed from Eastern Province, his people from his constituency, Rwangeni, they don't have a university where to go to.
Honorable Member, you don't include the chair as you are debating.
Thank you. Well guided, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the people of Eastern Province, they were expecting the Minister of Finance, when he was drinking water there, just immediate after drinking water, he was supposed to inform the people through this budget to say, Eastern Province, we are giving you the university so that your children, with this free education, they should be traveling to Lusaka to come and battle for a place at the University of Zambia, Mr. Speaker. So on behalf of the Eastern Province, we are crying, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the minister also mentioned in his budget that all the provinces, there will be airports. What about the people of Eastern Province, including Petauke? We are expecting maybe today, after this sitting, we are expecting all members of parliament from Eastern Province to go to the airport to say they'll go they'll go and land from Eastern Province. But he didn't even mention we are not included Eastern Province. Where are we? Where are we putting Eastern Province? Is Eastern Province not supposed to have a cake, a share? What have we done, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, when we come to CDF, Chipata Airport, if there is no Chipata Airport, have you ever seen today's plane going to Chipata? Ask yourself. You are down.
Honorable
Mr.
member,
Speaker.
honorable member, honorable member, you've been cautioned severally on the floor of the House. You have to be candid with your friends, with the honorable members. Withdraw that word and apologize immediately.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for your guidance. I withdraw that these honorable members, they are down. And I repress that they are not clever, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry. Mr. Speaker, when we come to CDF, we are very happy that the new Dawn government increased CDF from 1.6 to 25 million, from 25 to 28, from 28 to 30 million. They were very happy. But now, when I went, I was happy here. But when I went to the constituents, people in the constituents, they said, Honorable member, you are saying that CDF is a game changer. But what has it changed in Petauke Central constituents, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, it's nothing. We are crying. The reason, wait, I'm still debating, wait. Place is there and then Mr. Speaker will allow you. Mr. Speaker, the good people of Petauke, they are saying to say, our MP, immediately here you sit with your CDF committee, you approve project, but the government, the executive, they are not doing their job. They are not doing their job because implementation, it's the executive. It's not the member of parliament. If they have failed on the implementation part, let them transfer all the workers from council to the MP's office so that we start monitoring them on implementation, Mr. Speaker. Because of that reason.
There's a point of order. You can go ahead, honorable member.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry to disturb the flow of the debate for the honorable member, but I'm very, very concerned with the information that is given. I'm standing on standing order number 65. He's talking about CDF not working in Petauke. And he's saying the reason why CDF is not working is because of the executive. How is, honorable member, where is the connection between CDF and the executive? Let me explain this. Honorable, I'm also a member of parliament. Can you listen? Mr. Speaker, I'm also a member of parliament where CDF is working. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm also a member of parliament where CDF is working. CDF is given to the councils. When you approve the projects, then the councils go and implement. So which executive is talking at the executive failing to implement CDF? How is the executive, if he's failing to implement CDF or taking, it's him. In other constituencies, CDF is working. Councils, he's failing to approve and take CDF to Petauke. That's him. In Mwanjiwa, we've even finished, even 2024 projects are approved. So what is he talking about? Is the honorable member in order to drag the executive in his own failures?
Honorable Leader of Opposition, avoid debating while it is seated. You're welcome. Honorable member, let's confine to the debate to things that we may understand how government operates. So you can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a researcher, I'm very worried if we can have members of parliament who fail to understand that the workers at council, they are part and parcel of the
Honorable
executive.
member for Petauke, we don't debate ourselves. We don't debate ourselves. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the good people of Petauke, they said, MP, we understand your law is to approve with your CDF the committee which you sit, and then you approve. When you approve, it's up to the executive to implement. Mr. Speaker, I was imwe that's why kumunali badandaula abantu kubepa ne mchita na imwe. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking for your protection. These ministers, I don't know whether it's I don't know type of, I'm sure the sharp is just drain.
There is a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm at pain here to continue watching the Honorable Member of Petauke continuously involving his fellow members of parliament in debate, demeaning them, and issuing very inflammatory statements. Is it in order, according to Standing Order number 65, to continue being personal and not focusing on national issues of national importance? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member from Petauke desist from involving your fellow parliamentarians. I've got one word of caution. It just skipped my mind, but I have to, I think, bring it to light that it should be raised from the records. The Honorable Member for Feira mentioned that Zambia is involved in the Ukraine-Russian war. So, Honorable Member, may you take your seat? Honorable Member, take your seat. Honorable Member, take your seat. I'm the person who is... Honorable Member Honorable Kampiong. One of the biggest problems that people have is that the presumption that they know it all. It's not a very good thing. I heard with Honorable, I don't want to engage with you on this one. I heard it was on the back of my mind. Let's desist from making... This caution goes to Honorable Member for Feira and the House at large. Let's desist from making such alarming statements. Because this is a growing trend. Yesterday, it was on a similar path. Let's desist from such. The Honorable Member for Petauke, who was on the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was expecting again the Minister of Finance when he was delivering this budget that the 30 million he was supposed to tell the Zambian people that the 30 million now which will be given to the constituents, there will be nothing which will be directive. Let the people be in charge of the whole 30 million, not the 28 million where the people, they were only in charge to choose what to do with only 10.5 million, Mr. Speaker. Let the people be in charge of all the amount.
Order. The time is up. Oh, there's a point of order by Honorable Member Funkano.
Mr. Speaker, Standing Order number 65 requires that every time we make a submission on the floor of this House, we must be factual. Mr. Speaker, the three arms of government is legislative, which is us here, is the executive, that is divided, Standing Order number 65, factual submissions on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, I am raising this point of order on the member from... Hey, you were presiding officer. What are you doing?
Honorable Member, you are raising a point of order on who?
Mwandi.
You can't raise a point of order on another point of order. Our
Mr.
rules
Speaker,
don't allow.
Mr. Speaker, on what is tendered in this House, we can raise a point of order.
Honorable member, our rules say if one has risen on a point of order, you can't counter it with a point of order.
She's no longer speaking, Mr. Speaker.
No.
She's no longer speaking.
What you are referring to, honorable member, may you take your seat?
No. We
May
can
you
challenge
take your
anything
seat?
that has been tendered before
Honorable
the House.
member, take your seat. May you take your seat? Let me guide the House. The reference that you are making is against the point of order that she rose on. So, if there's a complaint, there's a way we can complain about that. Yes. The next member, the honorable member for Kafinsa.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
There's a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this very important opportunity you've given. My point of order is pursuant to Standing Order 44, duties of the Leader of Opposition, and specifically at C, to assist the presiding officers to maintain discipline in the House. So, Mr. Speaker,
now you didn't indicate that that point of order is against who? On who?
It's on the House. I'm asserting my role to help you. I want to help you.
You can't. The rules don't allow you to do that.
But it's here.
That order, that is one of your rules, but on the point of order, rules how you can raise the point of order, it's not allowed.
How?
Read your rules. They won't
Mr.
allow.
Speaker,
That is one of your rules.
If you allowed me to speak,
may you take your seat,
it would
honorable
assist
member?
you.
Take your seat.
Yes.
It's not allowed. So your point of order is not admitted. Honorable member for Kafinsa, let's proceed.
Mr. Speaker, this is what you're causing a problem now in the House. Point of order. Don't say no. Don't say no. You're causing a problem in the House.
Honorable member for Kafinsa.
For as long as you are only going to allow those to speak, there's going to be a problem here. We are ready to be punished, Mr. Speaker. We will not continue with this mediocre. We will not continue with this mediocre. For as long as you only allow them to speak, my members cannot speak. No, we can't allow this. This is a house of order.
Point of order.
I am ready to face the consequences on behalf of my members. I cannot continue.
Sergeant at arms. Sergeant at arms. Ensure that the leader of opposition is out of the house. Sergeant at arms, do your job. Ensure that he's out. Those of you who are going out, you are free to go out. We continue with business. Those of you that are going out, you are free to go out. We want to continue with business. The clerks ring the bells.
It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of parliament have to be present in the House for business to be transacted on the floor. So bells are ringing, calling on MPs to come in the House. And under consideration is a motion of supply, motion of 29th September 2023. This motion was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Dr. Stumbekom Sokotwane, urging that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And so far, we've seen quite a number of members of parliament debate to this motion. Earlier on, we had Peter Oke, member of parliament, debate to the motion, and we did see Fera, member of parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, debate to the motion.
Yes, Daza, and the House has so far considered 4 questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74, and when business started at 09 hours, there was Her Honor the Vice President's question time, a segment of 45 minutes, where members of Parliament are given a chance to ask questions to Her Honor the Vice President. And so bells are still ringing like Taza said, that it is a requirement that 1/3 of members of parliament must be present in the House for any business to transact. And so once the quorum is formed, we expect the House to continue with the business.
We must make mention that the House has so far considered 4 questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74.
And the first question, Taza, came from Midlanzi Member of Parliament, Ms. Melisiana Piri, who posed a question to the Minister of Education. She wanted to find out a question in 4 parts: whether the government has any plans to construct houses for teachers in Milanzi parliamentary constituency. And in the B part of the question, the Member of Parliament wanted to find out, if so, how many houses will be constructed in 2023. And in the C part of the question, the Member of Parliament wanted to find out when the project will commence. And in the D part of the question, she wanted to find out what the estimated cost of the project is. And so we'll be giving you answers for this question later on. And bells are still ringing, calling members of Parliament. It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament must be present in the House for the business to transact. And so once the quorum is formed, we expect members of Parliament to continue debating to a motion of supply that was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning.
The House has also considered question number 79, which came from Ms. Marjorie Nakaponda, who is a soccer member of parliament. She did ask the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development whether the government issued mining licenses to any companies at Nkombwa Hill mine in Isoka parliamentary constituency. If so, what the names of the companies that were issued with the mining licenses are, and if not, what measures are being taken to prevent illegal mining activities in the area. Bells are still ringing, meaning a quorum has not yet been formed. It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of parliament need to be present for business to be transacted on the floor of the House.
Yes, Taza, and question number 80 came from Chairman Member of Parliament, Mr. Yota Mutayachalo, who posed this question to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. He wanted to find out a question in three parts: whether the government is aware that some Kishi Road, if so, when the plans will be implemented, when the rehabilitation of the Tuta Road between Chitambo and Samfya districts will be completed. Yes, and the House is now considering a motion of supply. This is a resumption of debate on a motion of supply that was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And so we expect members of Parliament to continue debating to this motion once the quorum has been formed. And we must make mention that we did see Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, Member of Parliament, debate to this motion. We also saw Mr. Emmanuel Banda, who is Petauke, Member of Parliament, debate to the motion. Bells are still ringing. It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present for business to be transacted on the floor of the House. Yes, Taza, and so on your screen, those are live pictures which are coming right here on Parliament television. And just to make mention that there's no quorum in the House, and we expect business to resume once the quorum has been formed.
We can proceed. We have a quorum. The Honorable Member for Itestezi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to the budget speech that was made in this August House by the Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, allow me to touch, first of all, on the theme of good governance and the rule of law. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, from the time the European government came into power, it has demonstrated that it's a government of laws and
Point of order.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Article 207, contempt of the House, and my point of order is raised in line with the behavior of the leader of opposition in the House. And Mr. Speaker, 207, the contempt of the House refers to an act, omission, or conduct which obstructs or impedes either the House or members or officer in the discharge of their duties. And B2B, a reflection on the character or impartiality of the Speaker in the discharge of the Speaker's duties. So, Mr. Speaker, I was seated here watching the drama as it unfolds, and this is not for the first time. Mr. Speaker, this House is a respectable House. It's a House
that is called honorable, and that's why the members of this House are called honorable members. The behavior of the leader of opposition in the House, which he has displayed not only today, but I think even in the previous days. He has stood there pointing fingers and doing all sorts of drama in this House, which we call the People's House. Mr. Speaker, this House should not allow itself to degenerate to a level where it's ungovernable. There must be discipline in this House, and the House should rise to its best so that we can have an orderly House. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the etiquette of this House and the decorum does not accept the level of behavior that which has been displayed in this House. I therefore ask, Mr. Speaker, is the Honorable Leader of Opposition in order to continue behaving in the manner and fashion in which he has been behaving, and including today, is that behavior acceptable before this House? I need your serious ruling.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I reserve my ruling for this point of order so that I can study the matter effectively and render my ruling on a later date. I thank you. May the Honorable Member for his testimony continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, good governance and the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, through this budget, this cadaism that has shifted, Mr. Speaker, away from the markets to this parliament, Mr. Speaker, through this budget, we strongly want to see that it should be addressed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this stubbornness that you have seen away from the markets and the bus stations, moving into this House, it should be addressed through this budget, Mr. Speaker. Some of the people, Mr. Speaker, why they are behaving like this is because they are trying to overshadow something, Mr. Speaker, that we can't see. Now, can this budget, Mr. Speaker, start addressing that cadaism that we are seeing in this House? Mr. Speaker, on CDF, honestly, Mr. Speaker, how can someone say CDF is not working? Mr. Speaker, if you went to Itezitezi today, you throw a stone, there is a chance that that stone will land on a project. Where was this seen, Mr. Speaker, from the time Zambia became independent? Mr. Speaker, it's very surprising to see someone saying that CDF is being frustrated by the executives when they don't want to implement CDF deliberately. We have members of parliament in this House, Mr. Speaker, who are still implementing CDF for 2021. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I want to challenge the Minister of Local Government to do thorough investigations, because that is sabotage to the people of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, CDF, if I were to give an example of what is happening right now in Itezitezi, Mr. Speaker, in a space of less than 2 years, we have managed to put not less than 150 water points in various places in the district. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, in a space of less than 2 years, we have managed to build 28 classroom blocks. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, in a space of less than 2 years, we've managed to build 8 houses for the medical staff. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, in a space of less than 2 years, we've managed to procure equipment for the council, something, Mr. Speaker, which we never dreamt that we have this equipment in the council. Yeah. Then what more, Mr. Speaker, would somebody demand from this good government? Yeah. Mr. Speaker, CDF is a game changer, and this increment we've seen, Mr. Speaker, if other members of parliament don't want these monies, let them be shifted to the members of parliament who want to save their people. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, on CEC, we are very happy that this budget has done some increment on CEC. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, we have a president who is inspiring young people to do away from white-collar jobs, to be entrepreneurs, to start their own businesses. And my brother here, the minister, is at pains looking for the monies that will empower a lot of young people who want to fend on their own. Mr. Speaker, we've seen a slight increment, but how I wish we could add a little bit more on the sea so that a lot of young people could stand on their own, start their businesses, and very few could be queuing for the white-collar jobs like the teaching and the education, where at the moment we are struggling to consume all of them in the service. Mr. Speaker, coming to the health sector, we cannot do without people who are healthy in a nation. And this government has made a decision, Mr. Speaker, to be very deliberate in terms of ensuring that there's quality health. This budget, Mr. Speaker, is addressing the infrastructure in the health sector. This budget, Mr. Speaker, has continued to want to recruit additional health personnel. And sometimes it's very surprising, Mr. Speaker, where you see a member of parliament being against the intention of government to recruit health personnel. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, the health clinic that had over 15 residents with only one girl who was managing that clinic. Mr. Speaker, as I speak right now, there is no clinic which is completely understaffed. Our people are accessing good services. Our people are no longer walking long distance because through this MCDF, we have managed to add additional 3 clinics in our communities. Mr. Speaker, coming to the environmental protection, you are aware that last year, the ministry, the DMMU, struggled, Mr. Speaker, to deal with climate mitigation and also disasters that we witnessed. Mr. Speaker, we've seen a slight increase again in this budget that is going to help us address most of the issues the Minister of Environment yesterday mentioned, and we are hoping that this would be added a little bit more so that we manage to deal with the climate crisis that we're experiencing as a country. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the agriculture budget, we've also seen it dealing with the fundamentals that we need to manage in order to unlock the price of mini meal and also to ensure that we diversify the sector from only crop agriculture to cattle keeping and the other sectors. With what has been added, Mr. Speaker, I'm very positive that constituencies like Itestezi, with over 45,000 animals, we are going to see a reduced burden of disease on our animals, and we are going to see a lot of value added to the sector. We look forward to a time, Mr. Speaker, as the budget continues being enhanced, where we shall have milk collection centers in our constituencies, and where we are going to build additional dams, additional deep tanks, and also a lot of other livestock services being provided in our constituents. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the education sector was already mentioned. Free education is a game changer. Over 2 million children who are potential junkies are now in our schools. Government has increased the grants to our schools. The teachers are being remunerated very well, but we strongly feel issues around upgrading the teachers, those who have qualified to higher grades, should also continue to be dismantled in the coming budgets. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, the people that are very provocative, since they are not here, I'll allow other members of parliament who are very progressive to debate. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Mbabala.
Peace in the house.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Mbabala an opportunity to support the budget speech by our able Minister of Finance and National Development, Dr. Musa Kotwane. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, may I indicate that the people of Mbabala do support this budget. It's an excellent budget. It's a progressive budget. Mr. Speaker, poverty has increased to 60% in the recently reported Living Conditions Monitoring Survey. This is, Mr. Speaker, attributed to the bad and careless 10 years of the PF regime, because this is a 2022 report which showed that during the entire 10 years of PF, the country was at sea. Mr. Speaker, the country could not support its citizens. The citizens were neglected. Bridges in Mbabara constituency that collapsed on the entire Pemba Road, in Mangunza Kachenje area, all these bridges, even the Machachambwa Bridge, were neglected and not repaired for 10 years, Mr. Speaker. The children who wanted to be in school could not attend school. Over 2 million children, Mr. Speaker, were not in school because of the carelessness of the PF regime. We saw, Mr. Speaker, negligence in the area of water and sanitation, no boreholes, no repair of dams. Our dams cracked, Kabanze Dam cracked, we have Mbore Dam cracked, and many other dams that actually all cracked and could not be repaired for the entire 10 years of PF. Animal diseases went up, our animals were lost. So, Mr. Speaker, a lot of assets got lost as a result of the negligence of the PF regime in the 10 years. Therefore, when a progressive budget comes like this, which is unlocking the economy, the various areas that have stagnated this economy, we are very happy. Mr. Speaker, we have heard on this floor some quack accountants failing to add up figures, giving us wrong figures on the borrowing plan, which is in white, black and white, Mr. Speaker, which everybody can read. But people want to mislead this nation for the selfish reasons of not taking development to the people. We saw, Mr. Speaker, somebody talk about the Gini coefficient, which they don't understand, Mr. Speaker. Again, this is a measure of dispensation. When in this budget, we have provided for free education to everybody in the country. In this budget, we have provided for nutrition to all children in the country, to the tune of 100 million. We have provided, Mr. Speaker, a drug budget of 4 billion kwacha, Mr. Speaker. These are areas that are equalizing the whole country, including the CDF, Mr. Speaker. They are equalizing the whole country. So what measure of dispersion is he looking at, unless the person doesn't understand statistics? Poverty is being fought with a clear work plan, a very clear work plan. When we go to the social sector, social protection, we've got the FSP program, which is very clearly outlined to fight poverty. We've got the social cash transfer program, which is very clearly outlined and increasing. Even the FSP is increasing to 242,000 households. The social cash transfer is increasing to over 1,300,000 plus households. And then we've got other support programs, including the credit facility for agriculture, which my people in Mbabara are very happy, because we are hardworking people. We want to see the credit, agriculture credit scheme implemented.
The
so
member from Mbabara withdraw the word quack.
Quacks, I withdraw. These are incompetent accountants, Mr. Speaker, who actually misled themselves and tried to mislead this country. Mr. Speaker, as Mbabara people, we see ourselves very well in this budget, because this budget has got various components which are meeting our demands. We have talked about the animal and livestock development programs, where we are seeing the revitalization of the Choma animal disease control program, which we want to ensure that it comes on board, Mr. Speaker, to safeguard our animals in Mangunza, to safeguard our animals in Malindi, and many other areas in Mbabara. We are strong farmers, and we want our animals to be safe. Therefore, that program is very essential, Mr. Speaker. We are going to see, Mr. Speaker, many other programs that are going to respond, including the water one which I was talking about. This is the water program of water harvesting. We have had floods that destroyed our assets, but we want to turn those floods into an advantage so that we can now harvest the water
and use that water to do irrigation of our crops so that we can feed these people, Mr. Speaker, that are making noise that do not want to work. Because for us, Mr. Speaker, is to work and work and work. That is our motto, Mr. Speaker, and that's our way of life. That is how we were born. We were born working. We don't like to borrow and beg, Mr. Speaker. What about Tibutoro Mujitonga? Or laziness in Tonga, Mr. Speaker? As a young boy, us would go the whole day heading cattle. And this man who's seated there just wants to eat T-bone. Doesn't know where it's coming from. So that is the laziness we talk about. We want to see people who are working, Mr. Speaker. And that's why for us, we want to get the education to our people, get healthy lives by ensuring that medicines and everything is there, and then people can work and produce. And will produce for export, because it is from exporting that this country will earn more income and have a bigger GDP. Mr. Speaker, we will only grow the GDP of this country when we are able to produce and export to other nations. Manufacturing, which has been on the growth for the first time, we are self-sufficient on fertilizer, Mr. Speaker. And that is what the people of Mbabara want. Fertilizer everywhere. Everywhere, in all corners of Mbabara. From Kabanze to Smaubi, to Mbabara itself, to Mapanza, to Ngonga, we want to see fertilizer there. That fertilizer will give us the net surplus for us to export maize. And we want to establish our own meetings, Mr. Speaker. We want to establish our own agriculture marketing board to correct all the foodstuffs that we produce and sell. So we call upon the Honorable Mutoro to help us establish that. The hard-working Minister of Agriculture, who is making us to go and make Zambia proud. Mr. Speaker, we support this budget and we want to congratulate the Finance Minister for a job well done. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Good afternoon. Thank you for still watching Parliament Television. The House has just adjourned, and now we take a look at business that has been considered from the time business resumed at 09 hours.
Yes, Taza, there was Her Honor the Vice President's question time, a segment of 45 minutes where members of Parliament were given a chance to ask Her Honor the Vice President's questioning. So we saw a number of members of Parliament who posed questions to Her Honor the Vice President.
And thereafter, the House proceeded into considering questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. And just now, we look at some of the questions that were considered. There was question number 79, which came from Ms. Marjorie Nakaponda, who is a soccer member of Parliament. And she did ask the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development a question in 3 parts: whether the government has issued mining licenses to any companies at Nkombwa Hill Mine in Isoka parliamentary constituency, and the minister did respond that government through the Ministry of Mines and Minerals has not issued any licenses. In part B, if so, what the names of the companies that were issued with mining licenses are. The minister did respond that there were no companies that were issued with licenses, so there were no names of any companies. And in part C, If not, what measures are being taken to prevent illegal mining activities in the area? The minister did respond that government, through the Ministry of Mines and Minerals, has a monitoring and compliance, carries out monitoring and compliance inspections throughout the country.
Another question that was considered on the floor of the House came from Milanzi, Member of Parliament, Ms. Melesiana Piri. She posed a question to the Minister of Education. She wanted to find out a question in 4 parts: whether the government has any plans to construct houses for teachers in Milanzi parliamentary constituency. And so according to the minister's response, he did say that government has plans. In the B part of the question, she wanted to find out, if so, how many houses will be constructed in 2023. And the minister responded to say that government will construct 21 by 3 bedroom houses under the medium-term budget plan 2023 to 2025. And in the C part of the question, she wanted to find out when the project will commence, and the minister did say that the project commenced in April 2023. In the D part of the question, she wanted to find out what the estimated cost of the project is, and according to the minister's response, he did say that 16,642,835 kwacha was the estimated cost of the project.
After the consideration of the questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74, the House proceeded to consider the motion of supply, a motion of 29 September 2023 that was moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Dr. Stumbekom Sokotwane, urging that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply for urging that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, together with the annual borrowing plan presented to the National Assembly in September 2023. And we've seen a number of members of Parliament debate to this motion. And after that, we did see the House adjourn. And so on behalf of Matimba and the entire production crew, and of course our sign language interpreters, Jason Manda and Chola Kauma, it's a pleasant afternoon.